Two men lay in a hospital ward, both suffering from wounds while fighting. One had severe lung complications. The other had severe spinal injury. They didn't talk a lot. They sometimes would talk about family. They talked a bit about the war, some of these things that were going on. There was one window on the side of the room, and the man with the spinal cord injury, is this on?
Yes.
The spinal cord injury would sometimes ask questions, but the guy would describe what he saw. He said there's a park out there, there's a lake. He saw kids playing in the water, couples walking in the park. This made the other guy feel good because he couldn't see out there, and the guy was making him feel good by sharing what all he was seeing. And one day he said there was a parade. It was obviously an Armistice Day type parade. Everybody had little American flags, and again, this made him feel good that people hadn't forgotten what they had been through. One morning, though, he awoke to discover that the guy by the window had died during the night. So he called the nurse in, and as soon as he could, he said, is it possible that I could be moved over by the window? Because he wanted to be able to see out and see these things that make him feel better. And so she said, certainly, and they worked it out. So even though he really wasn't supposed to do that, he started propping himself slowly and painfully out, just with a great anticipation to see what was out there. And as he looked out, he sank back on the bed. There was nothing out there but a brick wall. He called the nurse in and he said, what is this? This guy's been telling me all kind of stuff he saw. He told me about a parade and kids playing in a park and all this. And she said, well, I don't know what he told you because he was totally blind. When we think about seeing, there's two key words: sight. The ability to see with distinction and in detail. The opposite of that is blindness. It can be dark black, dark white. In my case, I have a rare form of macular degeneration, so I couldn't tell who you are, even if I know you, as I look at you. I'm not able to drive. My wife drives. When you can't see, it causes problems. Now, I can see peripherally, so don't worry. I can at least see to get off there without falling, unless I forget. And I remember when I was in the Augusta church, and I literally did forget where I was, and I had to jump off to keep from falling. But strange things happen when you can't see very well. I catch rides to the conference office with somebody know Fernando Verduzco, our children ministries director. And so I catch a ride with him or somebody else, and that morning the police had pulled this lady over right there where I was standing. I thought it was my ride. I went over the door to get in. And she immediately like, what is this? I was in a restaurant in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and had not been into the restaurant, so I decided to go in that day to eat in the restaurant. And the lady said, just go around down the hall. So I'm walking down the hall, and while I'm walking, I see somebody coming, and they were on the same side of the hall I was, so I just moved over, and I looked, and they were over there. I kept walking and walked right into a gigantic mirror. That other person was me. So sometimes when you can't see, it can be a little bit awkward. Well, there's another term, though, I want to talk to you about, and that is the term vision. Vision is defined, somebody may say, what's your vision? And that can refer to sight. But there's another definition. That's the ability, the definition is not what you see, but what can be or what could be. Think of inventions. How many of you know what an outhouse is? I didn't ask how many of you used an outhouse. I said, how many of you know what they are? Young people, kids may not know. But it's a restroom or a bathroom. Now, if somebody had a better idea, we'd all be going out to an outhouse instead of the restroom in the building. Think about it. If somebody hadn't had a better vision of driving, all of y'all would have come this morning in a wagon. Would that have been a lot of fun? Well, it might have been fun for the kids. And Lonnie maybe would have had a chariot, and he could have come flying past you. But he forgot that the local police also had chariots. So that might not help you much. In other words, looking at it and saying, I'm not satisfied the way this is. I believe there can be a better way. Vision. think about. In Proverbs, one verse tells us that he who follows his own heart is a fool. Now, when we think about looking at new ideas, we usually think about the word faith. Chapter 11 of Hebrews is the faith chapter. It lists all the heroes and heroines who showed great faith. How many of you today would like to have great faith? Don't be bashful. I think all of us would like to have great faith. Faith is the substance of things, what? Hoped for, but there's no evidence that it's there. There was no evidence that the Wright brothers could actually fly. But they had an idea. And that idea has led to where we are today. So faith is the substance of things hoped for. Well, in Hebrews 11 verse 6, we read that he who wants to satisfy the Lord is going to have faith. In other words, it says, we cannot satisfy the Lord without faith. Why? Because we can't actually see. We've studied, we recognize nature, and so we recognize that we have two choices today. Faith in God or the opposite. Now, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 3 says that Satan blinds the eyes of the lost. Verse 4 says that the lost are lost because they refuse to see the light of the glorious gospel of Christ. What did I say? They refuse the gospel of salvation. By the way, that's why this church is here. It is a light to this community. That's why you're here, to worship the Lord. But He has also called you to spread that word to them. Stop and think about it, folks. The world today is in fear. People are scared to death. What is going on? Well, you and I, if we've been here for a while, know what the Scriptures tell us. We know what's ahead of us. They don't. So they're worried about ISIS. Well, if you'll come this afternoon, before I start the health lecture this afternoon, I will share some things with you behind the scenes. My dad had a third-grade education, but he used to say politics is not, he said it's like professional wrestling. You don't see what you think you see. Folks, there's some dramatic things happening. The Pope has invited the whole world to the Vatican next summer for a modern-day Pentecost, and the world is responding. Almost all the major denominations are responding. We better be paying attention. We better wake up. So, faith. Where is our faith? By the way, how important is vision and faith? Hello. How important do you think it is? Well, first of all, our brain works off of electricity and positive electrons. When I continually say, I don't feel good, I feel terrible, I'm discouraged, we know today that our body is not getting the positive charges it needs to fight disease, discouragement, and all of these things. That's why, again, we're talking this afternoon about how to do better as far as health is concerned. Now, here we're talking about spiritual lessons. In Proverbs, we're told, where there is no vision, what happens to the people? They perish. You ever stop to think about why is that true? Why do you need vision today? Hope today? Now, Satan doesn't want you to have hope. God does want you to have hope. So why do we need it? Stop and think about it. With no vision, you're basically saying, I don't have no thoughts. I'm not even thinking about anything. Kids have a modern day word. They call it duh. You have a kid say that to you, you say, you know something, and you say something to the kid, they say, duh. In other words, are you stupid? I knew that. Or, I don't have any thoughts. What do you think about tomorrow? I don't think about anything, I'm just hanging out. I don't feel good, I don't feel like, I don't have any faith about it, I just hanging out. Where there's no vision, the people perish. How does Satan work? Well, just very quickly. How does he blind people? One way he blinds people is by getting them to, and I sometimes show a video, but I don't think I gave them, don't think we're doing that today, comets. My son wrote a book called Chasing Comets. A comet is a bright light up there going around. Halley's Comet's the most famous. You probably studied that in school. It's on an elliptical orbit. It goes out and around every 76 years. It was last close to the United States in 1988. We went actually there in Chattanooga. The telescope set up and we see that bright, beautiful beaming light going around. You know what comets are made out of? Nothing but dirt and ice. There's nothing to it. But it looks bright. So Satan gets our attention to this world, focusing on things that look bright and beautiful. It's going to make me feel really good. Could be money, it could be cars, it could be clothes, it could be people, it could be sports, it could be anything. A lot of people are going up here tonight to a football game for the University of Tennessee. A lot of money is being spent. Probably expecting the largest crowd ever. They're at the Raceway in Bristol. Now, you tell me, you plan a lot of money for your tickets, you're looking forward to a big game, you're going all the way up there and they lose 50-0. How good did you feel? See my point? Satan blinds our eyes to the things of this world. It'll give me courage. It'll give me hope. And there's nothing to it but dust and ice. He knows he's going to be defeated. He knows he's defeated. He knows he's going to be lost. He wants you to be lost too. Another form is a discouragement. You can read 2 Corinthians 4, verse 8 and 9, where it says, don't give up. Don't quit. Some of us are older. We say, I can't do anything. I'm old. Excuse me, Abraham was 100 years old. The Bible says he was, chapter 11, 8 of Hebrews, that he was good as what? Dead. Good as dead. But God had other plans for him. So I don't care if you're at today 80, 90, 100, 70, 10, 20. God has plans for you. Hello? How many believe that?
Amen.
Third category, Satan has a little trick up his sleeve on this one. You see, he doesn't care if you are a Christian. He doesn't care if you're a Seventh-day Adventist Christian, as long as you don't have a close relationship with the Lord. Read a little book called Steps to Christ, page 47 and 48, where she says, that attitude of self-sufficiency or working your way toward heaven is worth nothing. The rich young ruler said he was keeping all of God's law. Jesus said, give up everything and follow me, and he walked away sad. Fourth area that Satan works in. It describes our church today. It's called Laodicea. In Revelation chapter 3, Jesus himself talking. Laodicea. You go in here right now or downstairs wherever the stove is and look at some boiling water. It's really hot. What do you see? Is the water just sitting there? No, it's moving. It's got life to it. What's the opposite of that? Well, cold water or ice, no movement whatsoever. And Jesus said what? I wish you were hot or I wish you were cold. But I don't like that middle condition called lukewarm. And you know why he said that? Because there's a word I like to use. It's called sleepy. Now, if you're wide awake, can you be a good driver? I can't tell how old y'all are, so I hope y'all have a driver's license. You have a driver's license? Okay. Wide awake and drive, right? Now that doesn't mean listening to something like talking on the cell phone while you're driving or something like that. But you're paying attention. Or she's riding with you, she's totally asleep. Is that good and safe? Yes. Is it? Is it? You're driving, you're awake, she's asleep. Is that good? Come on, yes or no? Okay, good. But, let me see who's over here. What's your name?
Hey,
Are you the daughter or the mother?
I'm the aunt.
Oh, the end. Okay. All right, now you're driving. But you work third shift. And you're really, really sleepy. Now, do y'all both want to ride with somebody that's half awake? Why? Why? Good chance of a wreck. Slow reaction. Can't see. Or not react. She may not even see the wreck. She's half asleep. Very dangerous condition, isn't it? Would you admit that?
Yes, I've done that.
Okay. Excuse me, this is not confession period. Let's start over.
I'm sorry, they was with me.
They were with you.
I've done that.
Well, if y'all were too, I think y'all could have made her stop. Well, like I said, okay, let's keep moving. We'll settle this later, maybe. All right. Why did Jesus say, I can't stand it, I'm going to spit this condition out? I mean, you're a Christian. Why would he say, I can't stand this? Well, we just saw the illustration physically. What's more important, the physical or the spiritual? Hello? Obviously, because we're talking about eternal life, not a few years on this earth. So, I got to get this straight. I don't want to ride with somebody that's sleepy because it's dangerous, and you yourself said, a good chance of a wreck. But yet, spiritually, there's a modern day word, folks. It's called oxymoron. Now, I don't know how about y'all, some of you older people, I do not remember using that word when I was a kid. Oxymoron. I heard people at the conference office saying, well, that's an oxymoron. I thought, what does that mean? I honestly didn't know. Now, I'm not going to point fingers and ask if you know, but I had to look it up. And it said it's a contradictory set of terms. Example, open secret, awful pretty, or pretty ugly. In the world of health, what about all natural artificial? This one will get you, ladies. What about an adult male? I've never heard any men laugh yet when I've told that. But what about a distrusting Christian? Hello? You see, Satan doesn't mind if I come and worship every Sabbath. He doesn't mind it if I preach. He doesn't care. He just doesn't want me to have a close relationship with the Lord. He doesn't want me to love Jesus. And so he's going to make sure I don't do that. Well, what's the answer? For great faith, we all raised our hand. Romans 10:17. What does it say? Faith cometh by what? Hearing. Hearing. I didn't hear y'all say anything. Hearing. Okay. Hearing by what? Word of God. How in the world are you going to get to know somebody? Now, I don't know how old you are. Let's say you're 20. You're 18. Okay. You're 18 and I'm 20. Don't worry, I'm 74. And I met you, and I really, really liked you, and I really like to get to know you, which is called dating. I think that's what it's called nowadays. And so so I asked you, is it possible we can go eat or something? Why? Because I want to get to know you, right? I mean, you want to know somebody, okay. Well, guess what? I like you, so we just keep, it gets longer and stronger. You know what? I find out I actually love you. But then one day I say, what's your name? What? Katie or?
Katie.
I can't hear either, I don't think. Katie? Okay. And I say, Katie, I really love you. But then one day I say, I don't want to talk to you again. She said, well, don't you have a cell phone? Address, whatever. Yeah, I know, but you just don't know when I'm going to see you again. Now, what do you think about that love? Not very good. Faith cometh by hearing, and hearing the Word of God. I can tell the Lord, I love you, Jesus. But I didn't have time to search the Scriptures to get to know you better. By the way, there's a study out there called The Big Four by Joseph Kidder, Andrews University, among Seventh-day Adventists. Among Seventh-day Adventists that attend church regularly. What did I say? One person's listening. Seventh-day Adventists that go to church on a regular basis. You know what the study showed? 37% said they study the Bible once a day. 43% once a week. Now you tell me how strong you're going to be physically if you eat one meal a week. How many of you will be strong? No.
Not very.
Not really. We may act like it. Well, I'm not very smart in math. My IQ in math is in the moron range. I found that out in college, which is 76, I think. Well, somehow I have two kids that are really good in math. They get it from my wife, not me. But I know one thing. 37 and 43 adds up to what? 80. 1 out of 5 Seventh-day Adventists say they never study the Word of God. But they're in church every week. Are you kidding me? See how Satan's blinding us? I'm not here to make anybody feel guilty today. We're all in the same boat. There's not a person in this room any better than anybody else. In Christ's sake, we're all as filthy rags. The only difference is if we've accepted His grace. Prayer. 73% said they pray at least once a day. 21%, almost a fourth of Seventh-day Adventists, that would be almost like this group right here in this church, said they pray once a week. 6% of people going to church every week said they never pray. Who are we kidding? No wonder we're called Laodicea. Well, no wonder Jesus said, I got to spew out my mouth. I can't stand it. Not because He doesn't love you, but He realizes that you're lying to yourself. To say, I love you, Jesus, but I didn't have time to talk to you. I was spending 7 hours a day watching television. I was 6 hours a day on the computer. I didn't have time, Lord. Matthew 17, 14 to 21. Father comes and He's brought His son. He's devil-possessed to the disciples. The disciples pray for him to be healed. Boy, wasn't healed. He waits for Jesus to come off the Mount of Transfiguration. And so He comes off, and the Father goes to him and says, I brought him to the disciples. They couldn't heal him. Jesus' first answer was, oh, faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? He was thinking about the Jewish race, not His Father. He prayed for the Father. He prayed for the Son. The boy was healed. He left. The disciples said, how come we couldn't do that? And Jesus said, what? You can remove a mountain. A mountain up here if you had enough faith. Mountain of difficulties. Mountain of problems. Mountain of discouragement. But He says, you don't have enough faith. They're disciples. And He said, the only way you're going to have that kind of faith is by 2 words. Prayer and fasting. Fasting doesn't mean just do it without food. It may do it without whatever's coming between us and God. Did you hear me? The fact I did not have time to study His Word yesterday. I did not have time to pray. Something came between me and God. And folks, we're talking about an eternal faith here. You remember another story. Jesus has just performed miracles. Fed 5,000 people with a little kid's lunch. He had raised a person from the dead. He had done all kinds of things. The disciples were excited. It looks like He's going to become king of Israel. And Jesus says, I want y'all to leave and go to Capernaum. What? There's no time to leave. He said, leave. They get in their boat and they go out. Jesus, every night, when He faced these things, He wanted to be alone. He wanted to pray. He knew that He had to be connected with His Father to have strength because He was a human. Yes, He was God, but He couldn't use that. And He knew as a human that Satan was attacking Him every way He turned. I think y'all know that He attacks you everywhere you turn. And when the only source of answer to that is to spend time with the Lord. He has promised us. So they start out. They get in their boat. They're starting, they Start paddling out a little ways, then there's a little breeze. This is good. So they were able to relax a little bit and think about what's going on, and all of a sudden the wind's picking up stronger and stronger. And then it was getting so bad, water's coming into the boat. And then there was a lightning flash, and it looked like a ghost out there on the water. Jesus said, "How come you're afraid? It's me." Peter says, "Oh, Jesus, if it's you, tell me to come." Come. Peter, without thinking that he couldn't walk on water, stepped out of the water, and by looking at Jesus is walking on the water. And why? Because Jesus told him to do it. And it might be wise for us to do what Jesus tells us, instead of putting it off. And so he starts walking on water. Oh, great, he's looking at Jesus. And then all of a sudden, there's a gust of wind, and he looks off. He starts singing, "Jesus, save me, save me." And Jesus reaches and grabs him with the wrist, pulls him up, and says, "Oh, ye of little faith." We see Peter later. Saying, "Jesus, I will never deny you." And he turned around and he meant well. You and I mean well. He cursed and denied and he lied that he knew Jesus. Same Peter that's a disciple. Then came Pentecost. And guess who stood up and started preaching? 3,000 men saved. How many women and children? We don't know. Why? Because after Jesus left, they came together and started praying as one. Are you listening to me? They began praying. Prayer is the key that opens up the treasures of heaven. And it's for you, every single one of us. Why would we deny that? When Jesus offers it to us, a channel to talk to Him, and He can talk to us. That's what prayer is. And by the way, that same Peter and John are walking into the temple. There's a crippled man laying there, and he says, puts his hand up for an offering, and Peter says, "I don't have an offering. Well, what I've got, I'll give you. Look at me." And he told him to stand up. The man stood up. He helped him probably a little bit. The man is healed. He starts running everywhere. The Jewish leaders knew that. People all over the town saw this happen. So they arrest Peter and John and said, "Tomorrow you're going to tell us how you did that." Next morning, Peter stands up in front of Caiaphas and all the leaders, and looking straight at them, he said, "I'll tell you how I did it. It wasn't by me. It was by the power of Jesus Christ of Nazareth that you crucified." All of a sudden, Peter's no longer afraid, because he's now gone to another level. Are you listening to me? You and I can do the same thing. We may have denied the Lord 100 times. We may have denied Him 1,000 times. But it's not too late. You're here today. And I believe that if we start praying like we have never prayed before, we're told in Steps to Christ that every single day, give Him our will and give Him our plans. And I believe that that same power of the Holy Spirit can be poured out in your life the same way it was with Peter. You know what the leader said? You can read that in chapter 4 of Acts, verse 7 or 8 down there. It says, they perceived that they were ignorant. How many of you have felt ignorant before? Hello, how many of you are still awake? Felt ignorant, and I'm learning. It said that's how they felt, but then it said they knew that they had been with Jesus. These are the same people that killed Jesus. So folks, we can come in here to worship. We can talk about sharing, and we had a great Sabbath school class this morning. We can talk. But folks, it's time to get past talking and acting. Are you listening to me? Amen. I would think we all would say amen to that, because I'm going to close right now in just a moment. But we read in Romans where it says, the night is far spent. The night is far spent. There's a world of darkness out there, right everywhere around here. People are scared to death. Darkness. But it says that Jesus is the light of the world. And if you know Jesus, the light can shine through you to these people. We're going to close by what happened there in but what happened there in Hebrews 11. These heroes and heroines, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Did you hear what I said? What did I say? Ordinary people doing what? That can be you. It can be you. Peter was a fisherman. I mean, folks, a guy said that I was a recess instructor. I was a physical education teacher. I got fired as a janitor. But today the Lord is speaking through me. He can do the same thing through you. But you know how it happened? You go to chapter 12 of the book of Hebrews. And it says, whereby these witnesses laid aside the weight that kept them from running the race of life. What's holding you and me back today? Lay it aside. It says the sin that so easily besets us. Whatever it is Satan's hitting you with, God will help you lay it aside. He'll help you lay it aside. And then it says in verses 2 and 3, as we look at the life of Jesus, it says, behold, that Jesus was willing to face the terrible death of shame, and he called it a joyful decision. Why? Because he was looking forward to the day that he comes back and you can be saved and spend eternity with him. That's why he died on that cross. Shame. And it says, and by the way, it says, you see the word there. Think about this a lot. Think about this a lot. Verse 4 says, we have not yet resisted unto blood. Closing, we had an administrator who was born in Italy, and a few years ago he and his wife wanted to go back over there on vacation, and they went and visited a very notorious battlefield in which in World War II 4,000 American troops parachuted in, and every one of them were killed and were buried there. And so when he found out that the caretaker said, "You're from America?" "Yes." And so he said, let me just tell you, we had a lady here recently come from America. She was born 2 months after her father was killed here. She never got to meet him, but she did get to come over here recently. And through all these years, we've kept things here in case the family came. And we gave her the knapsack, and in it was a cup, his canteen cup. And he had scratched on it with a knife, probably. Her name, Laura. I love you and will never forget you. Folks, we're told in Isaiah 49:16 that your name is inscribed in the palm of Jesus' hand. Out of all the things we hear, that ought to be a tremendous blessing and thank you from us. That Jesus remembers you today. It doesn't matter where we've been. It doesn't matter whether we've had vision or not. Today, He's calling you. He's calling you. Don't forget me. I still love you, and I want you to live with me forever. And in a moment, we're going to sing Because He Lives. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. But folks, I've come here today to challenge you physically this afternoon, because I know we can do better. I know that. I see it all the time. But folks, I'm talking right now about an eternal decision of spending more time with the Lord every day in prayer and study. It's that simple. I'm going to ask you to bow your heads. I'm going to ask you to bow your heads a moment. And just say a little prayer. 4 things. If you're going to do better than you're doing, it's study. And remember, the study in itself is not going to save you. We're talking about a loving relationship with Jesus. Growing. He wants us to grow higher and higher. Number 1, you've got to admit you need to change. You need to recognize your position. Can't lie to yourself. Number 2, are you willing to submit like you've never done before? Are you willing to commit maybe in a new direction? That means look at it. And I'm going to give out this afternoon a little handout that gives you a practical guide to having you look at your schedule so you can maybe spend a little more time studying and praying. And number 4, will you permit Him right now to fill you with the Holy Spirit? I want you to pray that little prayer. Amen. 4 things that we're told that we need: courage, energy, force, perseverance. And the Lord is willing to give you that right now. As we sing our youth hymns, we're going to sing number 526, Because He Lives. First of all, is there anybody here today who has never accepted the Lord? Or you know you're on that fringe. You know that you'd like to start over in a sense. I'm going to ask you if you would like to come forward, or if any of us would like to just come forward together and pray, to come up as we sing. It's number 526, Because He Lives. He wants us to be close to Him, and He's just waiting. So let us stand, and if you'd like to come up with a closing prayer, come up as a group here. I'd like to see us do that, because I'd like to see us pull together in this church for an outpouring of the Holy Spirit, just like they did at Pentecost. But anyway, let us stand, and if you'd like to come forward for closing prayer, come up, okay?